because we believe that we would have an opportunity to collectively, openly, and publicly express our perspectives on Coldwater Spring. And we showed up today, and we've largely been denied that opportunity because of the format here. We've been handed sheets that say who should manage the land, that this is not a question that is up for discussion tonight.
That's right.
But that is the primary question that we have as Dakota people. This land was stolen from us. We've never been paid for this land. It's sacred land to Dakota people, and it's time that this land be returned into the hands of Dakota people. As Dakota people, we have a right to express our perspectives publicly and openly, and the National Park Service is trying to silence us, is trying to suppress us in the format that they have here, that we have to go around to each of the individual tables to talk to their staff, to talk to their people, so that we can get our message across. If we want to leave comments, if we want to leave a public statement, we have to send them in. That is absolutely wrong. That is absolutely inappropriate when you're trying to get public discussion and transparency on an issue. There are a few people who came here and they've got comments to make, and so I hope that all of you will stay and give your attention to Dakota people, because this is our opportunity to speak, and we are not going to pass it by. Ate?
My primary comment is concerning the Treaty of 1805. Well, our people, the Dakota people, made about 7 or 8 treaties with the United States of America, and the Treaty of 1805 was our first treaty between the Dakota Iyotan, the Dakota nation or people, with the United States government. And that treaty involved about 155,000 acres, and most of St. Paul and Minneapolis set on that land. And Zebulon Pike, who negotiated for the U.S. government, estimated the value of this 150,000 acres, 155,000 acres, as $200,000. However, when it got back to Washington, D.C., the U.S. Senate put in the figure $2,000. So, according to my way of thinking and our way of thinking, there's $198,000 short that the United States government owes us. So this land is basically not paid for. And then, when the U.S. Congress decided that they would pay the $2,000, they decided to pay it in goods. Coming up the river, and some Sac and Fox guy says, "Hey, some white men killed my brother last spring. We want some money." So they gave him a lot of our goods. So we didn't even get the full $2,000 in goods either. So this land here is not paid for. So we're striving to get it into the white man's court, and knowing full well that I'm not so optimistic that the United States is going to honor its treaties, even though treaties are the supreme law of the land according to your sacred document, the U.S. Constitution, Article 6. But anyway, we want to get it there and to then show to the world how the United States honors its treaty obligations to Dakota people. Anyway, that's what we want to do. And right now, some of our people are going before court for the second time. We've gotten the Treaty of 1805 into the U.S. courts. So we'll see what happens. The first time it was denied on a legal technicality, but hopefully this time it'll be decided on treaty issues. So we don't know what's going to happen. But my main point is that whatever you guys are planning, whatever you're thinking about doing, that my point is that whatever happens in the U.S. courts, whatever happens, what we're doing right now with litigation of the 1805 treaty, that will have some impact on what is being planned here. And there's going to be a court appearance in March, and maybe we'll get the word out. But we'd like friends and allies to be there. We're planning on having a rally, a press conference at that time as well. So that's all I want to say, and I thank you very much for listening to me. Thank you.
The other point that I want to to make is that in the place that we call Minnesota Mokoche, which is the ancient homeland of Dakota people, the Dakota populations currently have about 0.006% of the Minnesota land base. That's 0.006% of 1% of our original homeland. By any stretch of the imagination, by any notions of justice, that is wrong. And right now, in the year 2009, the federal government and the state of Minnesota, they have an opportunity to restore this land, this particular land base, to the Dakota Oyate, to the Dakota people. And in 2009, the question is, what is the government going to do? Is it once again going to deny justice to Dakota people? Do we have to live under colonial rule for another 150 years, another 200 years?
No! Give them their land back!
It's time! It's time! The National Park Service believes that it can properly interpret this Dakota site for Dakota people. And I am telling you, they cannot.
That's right.
I read the report that they prepared in 2006 about the cultural and spiritual value of this particular site, and all I can say is that it was totally racist and totally colonialist. And just to give you one example, in the report, it criticized Dakota people for not being able to provide, or at least the several elders that were consulted and gave comment for that environmental impact statement. With those elders, because they could not come up with the ancient Dakota name for the Coldwater site, they were criticized by the National Park Service. The National Park Service said that this site must not be important enough to Dakota people if they don't remember the name. Now, if you look at the historical context of what happened to Dakota people in our homeland, after the United States government and white Minnesotans worked to eradicate our population through policies of genocide, ethnic cleansing, when they worked to steal the land from underneath our bodies, remove us from our homeland, and then attack generations of Dakota children in federal boarding schools where our children were attacked for speaking their language, where all aspects of our cultural and spirituality were under assault. And then they have the audacity to come back to Dakota people and say, but you don't know the name, the ancient name for that site. Of course, in the context of genocide, ethnic cleansing, and ethnocide, we have lost much. But it's been precisely because of the assaults of the federal government and white Minnesotans on Dakota spirituality and Dakota culture. That's the disrespect that the National Park Service has already shown to our culture. There is no way that they can properly, adequately, or appropriately interpret the significance of this site to Dakota people. It needs to be under Dakota control, in Dakota hands, and used for Dakota purposes, not developed. I want to take the time now to call on some of our young people to come up and give some comments about this site.
Wicanhpi Iyotan Win. Hello, all my relations. It is with a good heart I greet you today with a handshake. In Dakota, my name is Wicanhpi Iyotan Win. In English, my name is Autumn. One point that we really need to drive home today is that no other nation on this planet has as deep a connection with this site as the Dakota people here do. This is the place of our genesis. It is the place of ceremonies going back to time immemorial, and it is the place where we were placed in concentration camps, where our children were shot, and from which place we were forcibly removed by the policies of the United States government. To all you people in the back who do not feel that our words are important enough to give your attention to, we're talking specifically to you. Thank you. Now, this is 27 acres. 27 acres of the approximately 55 million in the state of Minnesota alone. 27 acres that we're asking for back today. Is it not in the best interest of the United States government to give it back? considering the history of genocide, of ethnic cleansing, of forced removal, of not just Dakota people, but from Native nations across this country.
Speak the
We
truth.
deserve this back.
Truth.